Welcome to MobileIron's webinar, Secure iOS Management for the Everywhere Enterprise. My name is Sam Kumarsamy. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at MobileIron, and I'm excited and thrilled to invite customer guest speakers, Greg Dykes, who is the Manager, Technical Services from Davey Tree. And this is a very interesting industry. Welcome, Greg. And you call yourself Green Industry, which is basically a tree expert service company, Davey Tree, that is. It is employee-owned, very interesting again, headquartered in Kent, Ohio, and with nearly 200 locations throughout North America, I assume both in the US and Canada. Tell us a little bit more about your role, your responsibilities, and what are your specific business and technical challenges around your particular infrastructure, mobility, and security.
Thanks, Sam. It's a little bit more about Davey Tree. Davey Tree is one of the oldest and largest employee-owned companies in North America. We offer a lot of services. We offer tree, utility vegetation management, storm and hurricane response, lawn care, environmental consulting. So green's about the best term you can kind of give for us. We are located and we operate in the United States and Canada. And we were founded in 1880 by John Davey in Kent, Ohio, and with 200 locations across the United States. I've been with Davey since about 2007, and my team is responsible for delivering the IT infrastructure and operations to the corporation, which includes desktop support, end user support, server support, networking, telecommunications, mobility, and of course security on top of that as well. And I think my team faces the same challenges a lot of folks that are on the webinar here face when it comes to managing a large infrastructure. With over 10,000 employees, we've got 4,000 iPhone and Androids that are currently right now unmanaged. More than 1,000 iPads that are managed out in the field. Over 3,000 PCs, Macs, 300 servers, and all the network gear to keep all those locations. So to say the least, it's a pretty complex task to keep all of that running and keep it all connected. And of course, and on top of that, running all the security tools that we need to keep it protected. And this ecosystem, I'll use a green term there, it's very important because each part of the ecosystem relies on the next part. And it's always constantly changing with things like Office 365 and Google G Suite. They even changed their name, Google Workplace, the past week. There's new processes always being created in our environment. And, there's all just to keep that ecosystem running and patched and up to date is a real challenging thing. Even with a concerted effort that we try to keep things as simple as possible, you can easily disrupt one part of the ecosystem. So change management becomes really critical.
Thank you again for telling us in detail about your infrastructure and the overall challenges. What specific challenges do you have with respect to management and security of Apple mobile devices? You talked about having iPads and iPhones in your environment, and especially out in the field. What are your challenges? Can you talk a little bit more about whether it's corporate-owned or personally owned devices? And
Sure.
What are your specific requirements?
Yeah, sure. One of those real complex processes that I talked about, is deploying devices, whether those be PCs or Androids or iOS. I've been around desktop management for over 26 years. So I started with Windows 3.1.1, Windows for Workgroups, saw the Windows 95 come around to Windows 2000 and Active Directory, and so each iteration of the Windows platform has just become more and more secure and complex, and automating that deployment has also gotten even more complex to keep up with it. And just Windows itself, just keeping a lot of the third-party tools to help protect it with antivirus and remote management tools and things like that. It takes a lot of cooks in that kitchen to keep that moving. Sure. So when it came to a lot of the, so one, when it came to the mobility side, we were trying to, try to keep the number of folks we have in there. We're trying to keep to the people we need in there. We're not trying to have a ton of folks there if we need to. Security was a huge part of it. Nowadays you have corporate owned devices with a little bit of personal data on it, or you've got a personal device with a little bit of corporate data on it. So, protecting the company's data and also trying to protect users' data, or at least separate them, was a key important thing too. And you mentioned before about that delightful user experience, and That's important for us too, because whenever you get a new piece of technology and you go to unbox it and open it up, you just love it when you open it up, start it, and it just works. And what we're trying to avoid is sending out a box with a big long list of instructions for folks. It's just going to have them call in for help to get it up and running. So that unboxing experience was important. And keeping the employees productive. The unboxing experience leads to just keeping that device up and running, updated and patched, and the right applications going to it. So that was important too for us. And then, app management. We have a lot of apps that we need to push down from the public app stores, but we also have requirements to push some B2B type apps. And also we're building some in-house apps as well.
So thank you again for talking specific details about Davey with respect to Apple mobile device requirements. Now, I understand you chose, in your case, you chose MobileIron Cloud solution, which is basically our cloud version for UEM. Now, did you look at any other vendors before you chose us?
We did. One of the ones we looked at was Intune from Microsoft, which, when we started evaluating, we kind of wanted to stay. What we liked about MobileIron versus some of the other vendors was MobileIron seemed to encompass not just iOS, but also encompassed, the ability to manage Android very well. So we wanted to make sure one wasn't more slanted towards the other. And in our PC side, we run SECM, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with, and maybe those letters kind of send some shivers down people's spines because that in itself is a beast to manage and keep running, and it takes a lot of people. And one of the benefits with the MobileIron Cloud was the interface. If you compare those two deployment platforms, the interface on it, hands down, was a lot easier to navigate and really easy to get things deployed and working.
Thank you again for selecting us over Intune. We really appreciate that. Last question for you. What are some of the benefits you have achieved using MobileIron Cloud?
Well, I talked about that unboxing experience. Today when we have to send a device out from the PC world, we have to ship it in, configure it, put it in a box, ship it back out. Even if it does come from an OEM, we're paying a lot of shipping fees, and sometimes the device has to come back to get fixed, and so there's more overnight shipping. So if you were to overnight something from California where you are, to me in Kent, Ohio, you're looking at least $70 round trip overnight with insurance on it. So out and back, we saw cost savings definitely right out of the gate of keeping that device out of a shipping box and in the employee's hands. And so that part was pretty important. And we really wanted to reduce the complexity with the iPads, as I mentioned before, about the dashboard, to going in and having everything in MobileIron in one spot to work on everything is key. Not having to jump around between different panes of glass is a huge benefit, and also allows us to have streamline that with less number of folks than I do in the PC world. And then the hardware and maintenance costs. So in our line of work, when we say someone's out in the field, we really mean they're out in a field. They can be waiters in swamps. I mean, we got people everywhere, and it's pretty amazing where they end up. But bad things can happen to some devices, and trying to keep them out in the field, one good thing about it is if the device can get fixed, we can, worst case scenario in some of our task-based devices, we're able to, completely wipe the device and reset it up in about 15 minutes. Sure. They can do that during lunch, and they can stay productive. If we have to push an iOS update, they can, put on the nightstand and let it spin through the night, and it'll be ready to go in the morning. And if the device has reached an untimely demise, they can take it to an Apple store near them. If it's under Apple Care, get it replaced, and then it joins in with DEP. Within 15 minutes, most folks, when they're leaving the store, they can actually be signing back in and getting their configuration right back down. They're not waiting a couple of days for shipping to go from one end to the other. So I think that's really really important. And we also saw that the iPads were surprisingly hardy. When we first rolled out iPad minis originally, we kind of thought we were going to see a lot of these coming back, and we haven't, and not like we did. We saw a shockingly low number of casualties on that front. And then, the last thing is just with the iPad and the iOS. And one of the big advantages for us in the cloud is, we know certain times of the year, certain things are going to happen. In June, we're going to have the beta release, and it's great to being able to just, put the beta on a device, and that's already managed under MobileIron, and start seeing some of those new features that are appearing there. And as we go through the iterations all the way to, the golden image at the end of summer. And then, day one, when in September, we know that, typically iPhones come in September, some years a little slower than others, like this year, but we know roughly it's going to happen now. And having those features in the cloud ready to go is another thing I don't have to worry about. And it's nice. And it's abated our ability to test and keep all of the devices ready to go for these updates ahead of the curve.
So thank you so much for articulating the value prop of our MobileIron Cloud and the benefits that you have achieved through it. Really appreciate your time.